Perfect. So let's start. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Welcome the attendees we have online right now. So, guys, the point here is that we have this project, which is called Trips Community, and we want to build a booking platform which doesn't have the interest of investors at its forefront, but the interest of the users. And we've been doing this for 3 years. We're waiting for the underlying technology to evolve, which is Web3. And a couple of months ago, talking in a panel with Matt Landau, who I discovered is a big proponent of cooperatives, it made me realize that what we're doing is actually very close to cooperative. It's just taking it starting from the technological point of view, like new things are going to be possible thanks to the web. But what we want to do is the same, a booking platform where any value which is created by the platform is shared with the users. Users being guests and hosts, or even software providers, anybody who's doing something in the platform, and not the investors only, which is what's happening with the OTAs today. Now, this is all nice, of course. It feels like it's fairer, but unless it works, it's just a theory. And then Matt was actually pointing to a few names, and yours came up too. So the main reason for this panel today is to ask you what you're doing, how you're doing, and what are the pros and cons of this approach to a booking platform. Because of any business, probably booking platforms are the most suitable for a cooperative approach, because it's not a shop. And Simon Lima was mentioning Migros in Switzerland, which is a co-op too. But booking platforms even more, because we as hosts are often called partners, yet we're not treated as ones, right? Why, if I'm a customer of a supermarket, if it's cooperative or not, as long as I pay the right price and I get the good quality, it's fine. I'm not a partner. I'm just buying stuff. But with booking platforms, the connection is much closer. So we actually should be partners, should be treated as partners. So I'm just here to listen and to learn from you guys. Why don't we go to Blake and let Blake present yourself, please?
I'm Blake McKenzie. I'm from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I operate a vacation rental company here on Vancouver Island for approximately 17 years called EMR Vacation Rentals. For the last 3 years, I've been a board member of the Northwest Vacation Rental Professionals. I currently sit as a director from British Columbia. Our association represents mostly U.S. Western states on the Pacific Coast, from California, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, and British Columbia. And so our group's been very busy on this front that we're about to discuss today, and we've been working hard with Vince Perez and his team from Fetch My Guest, developing out our own marketplace.
So what is your relation with Fetch My Guest? Is a software providing company?
That's correct, and a lot of it, the wheels that help move it forward is
great. So feel free, both of you, maybe to present the project, since it's a joint project. But yeah. So basically, you said you have a few booking portals based on the co-op model, not only one. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have basically an interlinked group of we recently launched the Stays group, which Vince can probably go in more detail on that, which kind of pulls these marketplaces together. We started 3 years ago with the Northwest Stays brand, so northweststays.com, and we built out a marketplace where our members could present and show their inventory out to the world, and have a book direct experience. It began at the travel planning stage side. That was the goal. We were trying to target that specific audience. We then launched Cali Stays, and then because we have members in California, and then we started Great Hawaii Stays in the last year, which is really about to go into full launch. But due to shutdowns and things like that, we've had it a bit delayed on that.
Okay, so in what sense are these cooperative projects?
Oh, sorry, say again?
Oh yeah, they are cooperative projects, they're projects. How do they charge a commission? How does it work basically? How does the money move around?
Our marketplaces are built in nonprofit, so we fund it out of our own membership. So our membership pays fees to help manage and market our marketplaces, and we also help cooperatively work together on marketing the marketplaces. So not just Google AdWord campaigns, and that's a big part of it, but developing content and providing content and sharing content, utilizing our own databases to help blast out to our own customer bases through newsletter campaigns, because many of us have been in business for a long time, have thousands of subscribers, and we're able to point to our marketplaces and provide that extra boost that they need that way. So through social media networks, we're creating content that points to the marketplaces, but also points back to our brands. The whole point is sort of a collective lift of our brands working together. And I kind of look at it as a premium outlet for the top brands in our markets that provide professionally managed vacation rentals.
So the booking process goes like, I'm going to book a house. I know it's kind of a direct booking. I'm using a platform and not the booking site of the owner. What kind of role does the platform play here? It's just a way to find things and to compare, or does it give also this kind of guarantee a third party normally gives, like an OTA?
It's 100% non-transactional. So,
okay.
So
I go home away all the time, right?
We're not. Yeah, back to the future, we like to call it. It's
okay.
We provide where you're allowed to have all your inventory up. We don't like to have specifically a search function that removes that inventory, much like the OTAs operate on a true booking platforms. But we provide, again, going after the traveler at the travel planning stage. So they're able to see the inventory, and then they're able to communicate directly with the property manager. And in this case, there'll be a link on the listing. If they like it, they can check the calendar link. It'll say what's available. There'll be a contact function. And recently, Fetch my guess, has integrated live chat to those listings. So those of our members that have live chat built in can connect directly to their listing. So if somebody's on it, they can chat right from our marketplace right into their own live chat account. So it's very much non-transactional. We don't want to be in the middle between the customer, in this case, and the property manager.
Okay, I'm having a bit of a delay, so I don't know if you can hear me. I kind of lost.
I can hear you. Yep.
Are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. So from the point of view of the guest, when I book in one of these platforms, who am I trusting here? Am I trusting the property manager? And the platform is showing me places, but in case of problems, I'm going to deal directly with the property manager. But the platform also kind of guarantees that the properties which are published are serious and they are reputable, right? So
that's correct. There's I guess I should say that, through the NWVRP, you must be a member of our association to be able to list your inventory on our marketplace. And part of that process is the NWVRP does a vetting process of the members. We like to do a back check on our members to make sure, one, they're legitimate, they've been in business, they have credibility. Check everything from their licensing to their BBB scores to online reviews. We look at a number of factors just to make sure that what's being not only becoming a member of our association and agreeing to our bylaws and our principles, but then that also presents a layer of protection for those consumers that are looking on our marketplaces for really the best rate guarantee, because that's what our members can provide. There's no hidden fees or anything like a lot of the booking platforms do present out there. We don't have to do extra charges or anything like that. It's simply the consumer communicates directly with the property manager and they're able to make that relationship.
Let me ask you a difficult question here. I'm trying to have I see it from the point of view of the guest, and I'm trying to find weaknesses, because if I find weaknesses, these are the same we have in our project. So don't take this as an attack or whatever, just to keep the conversation useful. Why aren't you bigger, or why is this model not bigger than OTAs? Why are OTAs winning, if they're winning? So what can be improved in this case to make the flip, to make the fact that there's going to be more websites like yours than OTAs? Is it just the marketing? Is it just the incredible investments they have? What is it? Did they capture the market? How do you see this? Or maybe I don't know, Vince wants to answer this one?
Yeah, it's probably good for Vince.
Yeah. I think let's start off from the point that I think Blake just alluded to, which is we're not a booking platform, we're a marketing engine. So we've got a lot of advantages. You're not going to see RBOs on our site. So everything's predicated on the membership component. These are all locally trusted brands. I'm one of them. I'm one of the owners of Beach House Rentals. So we have a very trusted brand in our community. So what we're doing is networking that local trust that had already been ingrained in the traveling public to the brands. So relative to our growth, I think we've done some pretty intelligent growth modeling. You have to, because of the fact that we are a membership and that we are vetting people as they come through the system. We do ask a big commitment. Every member that's in our network are actually stakeholders in the network. So by virtue of doing that, we're able to collaboratively work together to improve what we're doing relative to the platform, leveraging the trust that we've already built, and then creating other innovative ways to reach that targeted audience. As we've learned through the pandemic in our network, our network has grown exponentially in the last 4 months during this pandemic. Why? Because the OTA stopped marketing. So it's not a matter of, do I want to be bigger than an OTA? It's offering an alternative to that traveler that wants better value in what they're purchasing. So when we look at what we're doing relative to the platform itself, we're really at the second stage of where we want to go. Blake mentioned a few of our marketplaces that are already up. We've got 3 more that are in the pipeline they're about to launch. We have some unique opportunities of what we're leveraging from that. For example, we just launched the ability for us to share our inventory regardless of what property management system we're on. That's a game changer because now we're able to interlink communities together without interference of a property management system. And that also creates that intimacy, that trust flow, right? At the end of the day, because we built these brands, I want to say on average in our marketplace, the average property manager has been involved in this business for about 20 years. So they've already built that trust flow out there. So every new entrant that comes into our market benefits from that leverage. So Metcalfe's law, right? So the more nodes you have in the network, the stronger the network becomes. That's exactly what we're leveraging. So we now have the ability to, one, compete for that traveler at the point of planning, as Blake indicated. We have the ability now to offer something beyond our own properties. I'm in a very unique position, as are all our members now, as we're rolling this out. In that when our guests come to Beach House Rentals, when they check out, we get to offer them another place to go. I can send them to Hawaii, to cottages in Maine. I can send them out to the Pacific Northwest, and soon we'll be able to send them throughout the world. However, what we're not doing is trying to run ahead of the market to compete with the OTAs. We're very, very focused in that we're a cooperative. we're built on membership, and we're built on trust. Everything else kind of worked itself out, because if you've seen what's happened through this pandemic, the people that are left standing, those are the people that we want to be associated with. The people that have actually made investments in their brands and are servicing those guests, those are the people that we want inside of this network. So the other piece that we're about to release, we're in actually beta right now, is our ability to leverage those that trust that we've built into our units themselves. So now when the guest is in unit, they can rebook the property from being inside the unit, or they can discover other properties that are within our network. So essentially what Stage Groups represents is unifying all of these collective regional brands that we've all worked hard in the last 3 years to build together, and now giving that traveler one place to go. And where advantageous is that when someone checks into one of our units, and they may have come from a Booking.com or Airbnb and VRBO, they won't leave with that impression. They're going to leave with a higher level of value that member is now giving back to that guest.
So you mean, sorry to interrupt you, I lost this part. You say they can book from inside the unit. You mean that there's some kind of system, or you push it, you give them the chance to book?
That's correct. Part of the Fetch My Guest technology is we have a communication platform that's already built in. So there's a couple of things that we could do. I can go right into the system and refer one of our guests directly to one of our members, wherever they are in the world, right? We do that regardless of what property management system there is. That same technology now will reside in-house, which will allow the guest to then take their phone, go ahead and click on rebook, whatever matriculates to the system for that particular VRM, whether they're getting a discount for that repeat guest. The whole point is when that guest checks in, whether they've come in through an OTA, when they leave, they've got Stage Groups on their mind. They've got beach house rentals where they just stayed on their mind, right? They've got an alternative to these other booking platforms that will allow them to get the best value, the best service, and of course, the best price guaranteed.
Do you see this model? You mentioned this kind of growing. Do you see this growing to a point where we kind of solve the OTA problem? I mean, what I mean by OTA problem, the OTA problem is not that the OTAs exist, but that they are too powerful in general. And so the average host or property manager is kind of paying a bit too much in terms of money and in terms of control in this market. The moment that the OTAs go below a certain level to be defined, we solve the problem. They are part of the ecosystem. The problem is that they have just too much of this ecosystem. So first question, is this growing? And do you see the second question, do you see this growing to a level in which we are not going to worry about the OTAs anymore because they're just one of the many ways we can get bookings?
Yeah, so I think that the answer to the first question is we already answered. Yeah, of course we're growing. So that's not the issue. It's how we want to grow, right? And again, we've got an intelligent focus on how we want to grow the marketplaces. Secondarily, relative to the OTAs, it's pretty simple. I think at a membership level, what we look at is we want to make the OTAs incremental, not detrimental to our business. So with our ability to stay focused, with our ability to network, with our ability to reach out and leverage the trust flow that we've built, the OTA problem gets solved. I mean, I don't think there's anyone on this panel that can tell me what the OTA is going to look like in the next 24 months, right? No, of course. So by virtue of that, pre-pandemic, the OTAs were already having issues. Have those problems gotten better or worse? I would argue gotten worse. And we're seeing that throughout our network. We're seeing members in our network who are using Airbnb at a very high percentage, either cutting that in half and in some cases putting it all together cold turkey. So what does that do? It causes an inventory imbalance. In our industry, there's never been a problem with demand. There's always been a problem with supply. So what Stage Group is focused on is that quality inventory that travelers are looking for. So I think doing that, the OTA problem, I don't look at, I'm a former hotel guy before I went into technology, so I don't look at the OTAs as an either or proposition. I look at it as to whether you want to make it incremental or detrimental. So I think they have a role to play, an important role to play in our ecosystem. But at the same time, I think the brands that have been around for years, that have built trust, they've got a massive advantage at a local level that we're exploiting.
Do you see property managers kind of trying to give priorities to your booking engine instead of the OTAs, like trying to say, okay, for those days, I don't want to get bookings from OTAs. How can I do that? Do you see them trying to steer more bookings through your systems? And if yes, how do they do it?
Right. So again, we're not a booking platform. So yeah, but absolutely, part of the membership requirement is that they put all their inventory into the marketplace for obvious reasons. So, and also there's a commitment level that they need to make that Blake alluded to, right? They have a 2-year commitment. They go through a vetting process. So by virtue of doing that, it filters out those that we know are committed to the book direct movement, if you will. So it's almost an organic way of making that happen. It's, again, for them, it's not either or. We always let them know that look at the marketplace as another part of your distribution. It just happens to be one that's actually building your collective brand as you grow. And it's the only one, by the way, right? The OTAs aren't giving them back any type of brand value and amplification. Regional listing sites are building up their own brands. So these platforms are designed to make sure that there's equal brand recognition that's given throughout the network components, while giving them tools to make sure they can transact within themselves and the memberships to grow that direct bookings. So we've got some great examples within our own memberships where we've had members that were using a Scapia product and have all their inventory on Home Away, to now where they've reduced it by about 25%. That's real money. Those are real dollars when you can flip your inventory that quickly and make it into a profitable state. It's not rocket science. It's just us collectively using the power that we have in our trusted brands to make that happen.
Do you see them sometimes closing dates on the OTAs by leaving them open on your websites?
It's absolutely correct. It's why you don't see calendars on our site. We're this massive marketing platform billboard. So the beauty of that is that you don't have to worry about that component, because if indeed you're running into sold out dates, there's a likelihood that your neighbor, by the way, this is why it's a cooperative, right? You could look at your neighbor, our neighbor down the street here that's literally 700 feet from us, is a quote unquote competitor, but we share each other's inventory. So if we're sold out, which we typically are during our seasons, we go ahead and refer business to them. So our goal is to make sure we can get as many travelers that come into our communities, because we're very keenly aware that our network is built on quality. And that's a huge advantage for us, because that means we know there's only a certain amount of quality providers in our areas that can service these guests. And that allows that pie to be split in so many different ways, but really, again, driving us to profitability.
Okay, great. Emanuele, maybe we can hear you now? No. So let me try again. Otherwise, you're going to have to log out. Come back in. Give me a second. Maybe now?
Is this maybe on?
No, he's not muted. That's the problem. Okay. Yeah, so he's going to get out and get in again. So I'm in northweststays.com, and I just check a property, and I go like River Road Hideaway. I'm not going to share the screen because it's going to be a bit technically long. And then you mentioned there's no availability, but there's an availability button which takes me to maybe their direct website?
That's correct. Again, our goal is to get the traveler in less than 3 clicks to that brand.
Okay, but that doesn't it make a bit uncomfortable to use your website to search available dates? So I assume the guest approach is a bit different here. They don't want an easy way to get in and book something. They want to explore, get in, they see something they like, maybe it's occupied, they contact anyway and ask, do you know anybody in the area? Something like that. It's like more friendly and slow.
Well, that's the whole point. Again, we're reaching the traveler at the point of planning, right? We're leisure destination areas. So these aren't folks that are, by the way, I shouldn't say that. We just realized that through the pandemic. So you've got a couple different cohorts, right? So our cohorts are people that are in the planning stages of developing their trip. So we can give them the best information, right? So that's one of the leveraging points that we have. And because we don't have this massive volume of inventory, calendars would be detrimental because during those peak periods, no properties would pop up. We want the flexibility to be able to move those people into different parts of our members' organizations when that becomes available to them. So we discovered during the pandemic, because the OTAs were not presenting themselves, we got this massive push into our database. So, example for beach house rentals, we had to shift our inventory in so many different ways because of our peak season during the pandemic. But now we found that 60% of the bookings that have come into our network have all been new business. Now that's coming from a business like ours that does about 86% of our business now is repeat, and we run a 98% occupancy. So that's a massive lift to a database for a brand when you're looking at reaching that traveler at the point of planning versus someone that's looking to book into a short OTA window.
Great. Okay. Emanuele, can we hear you now?
I hope so. Can you?
Yes. Okay. The old thing restarted.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
It works. Okay. So Airbnb, let me introduce what I learned in a very simple way. You basically work like an OTA. You get 15% commission, but you don't give this commission to your investors. A part of this, you invest it in local projects like kindergartens or anything else. A part of it is for operations, and that's basically the very simplistic explanation.
Yes.
Okay. So I remember it was a bit more complicated than that when you explained it to me, but that's the idea, right?
Yeah, that's the basic idea.
So how is it going? What's the plan?
Well, we were just about to launch just before the pandemic, so we were just like everybody. We were a bit let's say, we are still a bit shell-shocked, but it's going all right. I think we have time to tinker with our platform. We are also adding destination pretty fast on top of our 6 pilot cities, which are Venice, Barcelona, Amsterdam, Genova, Bologna. We also added Granada recently. We are going to add Berlin, London, Marseille, Paris. So, I mean, there's a lot of interest in the community. There's a lot of people on the field, actually, that they want to help us establish in specific communities, especially places where there's, let's say, the OTAs have been rampaging, let's say. So where there is a strong debate if we need a different kind of tourism and a different kind also of approach to this market. And that's our let's say proposition is not try to challenge the OTA model in a more what we call sustainable way by trying to use their model to nurture actually the communities that are affected by it. Obviously, it's a very, let's say, I mean, the Don Quixote goal. I mean, is very ambitious, but at the same time, we think there is space also. We see people changing their approach also to a lot of commercial activities. People shop more wisely now. They check if products are compatible with the environment. They tend to go for a hybrid car or electric or stuff. I mean, with all the, I mean, I don't want to make it too simple, but I mean, there is a slight change in the way people also approach the tourism, and we are trying to tap into that particular market of conscious traveler, to give them an opportunity also to bring value, not only to the property manager, which is obviously, if it's legal, is already bringing value to the community because it pays taxes locally and stuff like that, but also to the wider community around it with direct impact funding on social projects in the area.
So one of the problems you're trying to solve is the relation with the not the city, the whole city, but like the area around the apartment in a way, like the quarter.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. And maybe the neighbors too, which are in many cases not happy about having Airbnbs in the building, right?
Yeah.
So this is another. This makes it more sustainable because it's less aggressive.
It's not only that, because it's just not about money and using money to curb the effect of, let's say, short. We mainly focus on short-term rentals now. So I mean that's the big our focus at the moment. But is also about designing and defining what is sustainability in tourism in that particular place. We have kind of like a golden rule that we propose to our community. We call local ambassadors, which are people that actually managing the cities, and they enter in a debate with the community, try to be part of the debate, and we define specific rules for each community. I'll give you an example. We have this golden rule of one host, one house, where we don't want multiple hosts that have many listings. They own dozens of houses in the same cities, because that's for us is one of the key factors of the industrialization of the house market, basically.
Just to sorry to interrupt you, because what Blake and Vince are doing is not urban. Is that correct, guys? You're more like countryside or lake or.
That's a great question, Luca. Today we're not, but expect to see us in the urban markets here real soon.
Oh, okay. While Emanuele, you are more urban because all these problems are mainly urban, right?
Yeah, like at the moment, yes. At the moment, yes. We are open also to rural communities, but let's say there is more attention to the issue from places that has been heavily affected by the shortage of houses for tourism, obviously. So, like I said, we try to define for each city specific set of rules that sits on top of the local regulation. So for us, local regulation is key. Every host on us has to be 100% compliant with local regulation first, and then we apply our set of rules. For example, in Venice, the host not only has to be only one secondary house on the touristic market, but he also has to be a city resident, because we also have a problem of dwindling population and the phenomenon that a lot of foreigners buy a house in Venice just for investment, just even a single house. So it wasn't enough, the one house to one house. We had to go the extra mile. But there are other places where there's no issue on the, let's say, on the stock of houses in the place, that we may not even apply any sustainability rules, because actually the place needs tourism. There are so many small villages around the world that they wouldn't even have a post office if it wasn't for some local hotel or place bringing tourism.
That's the interesting thing, because I'm from Venice myself, so I know the city, and I know that there's an over-tourism problem there, or there was an over-tourism problem. There was the over-tourism problem in Barcelona. So those cities you're targeting were invaded by tourists. COVID comes, they're empty, and now they're crying because there are no tourists. So, what is is the balance in the numbers, or is the balance in the way? Like, does Venice need so many tourists per year, and that's where we are happy, or does Venice need a kind of tourism which is more sustainable?
Sadly, because tourism has never suffered such a crisis as recently, not even with the 9/11 or 2008 crisis. So there was Venice has become dependent on tourism. Is a full city. It's not like a small village or something like a rural area. It's a big city. It's got an industrial area. It's a big area in the mainland, but it's become dependent of tourism. Basically, if you take away tourism, now the city collapses. The whole economy collapses. The same with the cruises and stuff like that. This has been an error of the Venetian, of course. It's not that we can get angry with the gods of tourism. It's because the city has been sold out. And it was easy money. It was just opening the door and people was flocking in, because Venice is Venice, isn't it? So it was easy making money with tourists, no planning. I remember 25, 30 years ago with the low-cost commercial flights, you knew that it would have happened. 30 millions coming to the place, isn't it? There was already researches and studies on development of tourism, how people would have approached tourism in the year 2000, 2010, 2020, but local administration Fisher didn't do jack, to plan the city to become to have tourism as one of the resources of the place. So now what happened? When pandemic comes, is a catastrophe, because if you take away the only source of income, it's like your community revolves around, let's say, an oil field, and the oil field, nobody buys oil anymore. What do? What does the people do?
Now, let's say tourism will come back. This pandemic is not going to last forever. And how will a cooperative model for Airbnb specifically, or in general, how can a cooperative model help us restart in a better way? And then I'm going to ask the same question to you guys, because you really haven't stopped this as far as I understand, but it's still an opportunity to change. So, Emanuele, what can be done not to go back in the same situation, or even worse, because tourists are going to be even more hungry of pictures and stuff. So they're going to
yeah, I'm not very optimistic, to tell you the truth, because when the market goes down like this, there's the small owners are the first one to fold.
Okay.
They go away because they don't have enough money to stay on the market, or they've not diversified their investment. So they will sell out quickly as small housing stuff to funds they can afford to lose in a place while they gain in another. So,
but if they own the house, they just shut it down. They're going to open it again next year. They don't have real big costs, right?
Yes, but the small owner usually opens as a house on Airbnb. He pays a loan, which is heavy on the family. They usually use the proceedings of Airbnb or booking platform to pay for the loan. So now they find themselves with a small family budget and a heavy loan on their shoulders.
No, these are done.
These are done. Yeah. In fact, if you look at the AirDNA, you can see that in Venice there were 11,000 properties on the market just in the island area before March, and there are 8,000 now. There are 3,000 houses that
empty.
Exactly.
Making more.
Some are going back on the residential market, to tell you the truth, which proves that if there is a balance also in the numbers, is a quota that you should set of sustainability for a specific location, then eventually the things adjust themselves. Because in Venice, in the island area, we have 40,000 houses. The stock is there, it's fixed. You cannot build anymore.
You can build. Mm-hmm.
And if the platform, they reach 10,000 houses, 1,004, I mean, there must be somebody in a company, socially responsible company, that asks themselves, maybe it's too much, maybe we should.
Yeah, but that's again on the cooperative model. Those companies are companies. They are they respond only to the shareholders, and that's where the cooperative model is interesting. Airbnb is never going to say it's too much. They are growth junkies in a way. Every company is a growth junkie. Growth is at the base of everything they do, especially if there's a lot of investment, right? This is kind of what I think is the bug of capitalism. Capitalism is the best way we found to incentivize development, but it's got this bug because it works on profit, and profit can go a bit too far, right? So we won't get the solution from Airbnb. We won't get the solution from governments, especially in Italy. Can cooperatives kind of help solve the problem? How is it, guys, with you in these terms, like Blake and Vince? You, or maybe Blake, because you haven't spoken since the beginning. You don't have overtures, do you? Or how is it? What's your view with this?
Sorry, we don't have over-tourism?
Yeah, do you have this kind of problem too in your areas?
Well, I think we've seen it up until, our province, where I specifically live in British Columbia, in the cities of Vancouver and Victoria, where I currently reside, the governments have been utilizing some data that has pointed that we've had over tourism concerns for city of Victoria and Vancouver specifically, and very much like many other large urban areas, around the world, there's heavy pressure on supply, specifically on long-term housing supply. And so that triggered a lot of legislation locally to either ban outright short-term rentals or, and this was a big concern when we talk about the OTA's involvement here, is that the OTAs actually negotiated, specifically Airbnb, their own deal that only benefited Airbnb with our provincial government. And so the vacation rental homeowner, the individual properties themselves that have a long history of operating in our markets, were basically thrown under the bus in exchange for owner-occupied or shared accommodation models, which was basically 75% of Airbnb's inventory. But as it turns out, was 100% of their competitors' inventory, which would have been Vrbo and HomeAway at the time. And so Vancouver literally banned vacation rentals, which had a long history and did not impact the long-term housing stock. Most of the people that had operated were actually people that used their homes, and it was a small percentile of the actual number of STR properties. So, we've been, at the forefront battling these STR battles have been really triggered by Airbnb. Really, nobody else, I can say, has not had any kind of impact on legislation but Airbnb. And Airbnb tends to speak on behalf of the industry, or they like to present themselves as that. So we've had to fight hard as the NWVRP and as individual property managers say, no, we're here. We existed prior to Airbnb and have always been here. And we are also concerned about what's going on in our communities. And actually, it was interesting. In the Victoria City Council, one of our council members, who's very vehemently opposed to STR, actually said he would rather see a local booking platform than Airbnb. And we said, well, we're here.
You have it. We did. But let's go to a world in which cooperative models are bigger than OTAs. Let's say 70% of bookings go through these kinds of systems, and OTAs 30%. Does this solve the problem? Again, because the problem seems to be that the OTAs are just too powerful. Airbnb comes into Canada, completely changes the landscape. The legislator fires back against the good guys who have been there for 30 years and have never caused problems. So is this flippening important? Do we need to have cooperative models get bigger? So is grow important now? Or is it like, okay, we do our own, we are protecting our own members, and that's what we can do? Are you trying to get bigger in order to solve the problem for everybody? Does it even make sense what I'm saying?
It does, but you have to involve the citizens. Because the main issue is that it's true that for Airbnb, for, let's say, venture capitalist fueled company, growth and money is the most important thing. It's profit over people. But it's also true, and I don't want obviously to criminalize everybody, but even an hotel owner or a house owner is a small capitalist frame of mind. He would gladly to see his house full all the time. And if you don't regulate with the population, with the neighbors, if you don't involve the neighbors in the process of deciding when it's too much, the homeowner just going to say, no, it's not. 20,000 houses in Venice is okay. Why? What's the problem? I mean, I'm living fine. And that's the issue. You have to put all the dots, you connect all the dots. You have to put the government together. You have to involve the property managers together, the platform, whichever kind they are. They're important because they bring together communities. And then you have to have the traveler as well, which they have to be aware that moving around in a place it's got a cost, which is not only what they pay to stay in a place, but it's got a cost in terms of usage, waste disposal, transport, fuel, driving away with, I mean, we all love these beautiful cafes in the center of our city, but when there was a cafe once, there was a cobbler, because tourists just want a cafe. They don't need to cobble their shoes. And so all these pieces, the cooperative model, if is a platform for a real multi-stakeholder cooperativism, When you put together the traveler, the citizen, the property manager, and the government, then it can become a solution. Otherwise, the cooperative is just another company, isn't it? If you have battling cooperative of property manager against travelers against it doesn't really change anything.
Okay, it seems hard to do. I mean, to have all these parties understand, accept, and behave accordingly. You have the governments who are 20 years behind. You have the travelers who they go to Venice, they don't even know if it's Milan or Venice. They just want to have some pictures. I mean, before they reach this kind of consciousness, it's going to take a long time. Actually, if we reach this kind of consciousness, we have solved the whole world problems, right? So what I'm trying to see here, is there a way for cooperatives to become prominent and solve the problem from their side? What do you guys think? Is there a chance that your model can actually improve the situation?
Well, 1 second. There is one thing that platform can do. The platform itself, I mean, I think I'm not particularly a fan of OTAs or the direct booking platforms. We just offer let's say, an ethical slant to the OTA system. So I'm not advocating for anything, but a platform can give you an advantage. The fact that put together many things. For example, I heard the explanation that you can put together the inventory, and that's a service. That's something important, that you offer a service both to your supply and to your demand. We, for example, offer a refund booking 100% in case of pandemic event, disruption of flights. So we try to bring value to create something. You have to create you have to give a better service than the other options. Basically, that's what it's about. Until you will not be able to have cooperative platforms having the same technology, the same marketing skills, the same also economic power built with a multi-stakeholder option, it will be very difficult. At the end of the day, the people, when they're trying to book a flight, we made a research of over 1,500 of our potential customers that are beta testers of our platform. And we found out there is a great interest for sustainability, but to a degree. I mean, people don't want to transform their holiday in a mission. They want something easy. They want to clean their conscience in a quick way, let's say, like this, which is perfectly fine. Is human, is normal. But I think that there is a possibility. Cooperative is a cooperative platform are a potential solution to the problem. They need to work as a real company. They cannot be just an idealistic system full of. I mean, democracy also in the making is very important, but you have also to be operative. So it's a big challenge, but I think it's got great value. You can have great values also for the customers.
What is, Vince, what is the technical challenge here? Because you are developing a different system than OTAs, but also very similar in many ways. What is the hardest part here? Is like a budget problem, access to talent? What would really change the game here in terms of technology?
Well, the last thing on that list, it's not technology. I think that's been the problem. Everybody approaches solving this problem as a technical issue. I don't believe that for a second. Technology is there. All the pieces we need to be successful are in place. Beach House Rentals, we have 3 pieces of technology that run our business for years, right? So that's not the issue. There's plenty of technology. It's really what we've been talking about. It's when we look at our cooperative, a big part of what we do is advocacy. A lot of our property managers are solving the problems on the ground with the neighbors and the local governments and those types of things. The other component to that is we get together every month and we do panel discussions on topics that are relevant to the membership. So it's really nurturing the already strong aspects of each and every individual brand that's part of our membership, but hopefully adding something of value where it trickles down into their communities because we're already involved. From a technical standpoint, the fact that we have a very decentralized platform gives us flexibility to introduce things in the future. So the thing that I focus on with my team is I always make sure that I approach it from beach house rental standpoint. Fetch My Guest is the vehicle that will help drive this cooperative to where it's going to go. It's going to be very successful. If I keep my beach house rentals hat on, the decision making is pretty straightforward because all these keys of success. I've said this many times in presentations I've done. If I were to strip out all the technology, it still comes down to the relationships we have with our guests, our owners, our team, of course, in that community. That's what it really comes down to. So there's plenty of technology to make this evolution successful. It's really making sure you have the right people within the network, and those are the people that are invested in their communities, in their businesses, in the relationships is what makes it work. I've got a fairly robust technical platform that Blake could probably attest to, in that we're really focused on bringing in the technical partnerships. So we're now making sure that we've got all our partners that can be integrated with these different property management systems to make their onboarding process very simple, to be able to scale out what we're doing on a global level, but always making sure that our members, just like us at Beach House Rentals, always maintain the ultimate flexibility in how they run their business.
Okay, so the value here is in the community, in the fact that you get people together who have a common goal and they get together to be stronger, more than technology itself. Right?
There's plenty of it out there. I mean, look at the billions of dollars that are invested in this industry. Go look at Airbnb, right? They just made this statement, right? It took them 2 months to basically wash out their last 12 years of effort. So now you bring it down to the macro level of a business such as Blake and myself, in that what's really happened is that we were able to manage our cash flow intelligently. We've maintained those relationships, and that's what's going to kind of that's what gets us through these tough periods, right? So of course, everything I just mentioned is not technical. It's really the relationships aspect of the business. The technical component is what's going to allow us to scale, but there's plenty of different opportunities of leveraging technology to get us to where we want to go, whether that be through partnerships, whether that be through points of affinity that allow us to kind of scale this thing out. But I think from our standpoint, from the Stage Group standpoint, where we really hang our hat is on the trusted network that we've built and the trust flow that we've created with the guests out there. So as long as we maintain our quality, then the sky's the limit to what we do, because we know there's going to be consolidation in this market. We've seen some folks, unfortunately, go out of business. We're focused on the people that have executed through this process, because we know that the next generation coming up will hopefully learn from what's happened here, right? And not building your entire business on Airbnb is probably not a good idea. Those are the people that we're looking to nurture. And I think the NWBRP, we do a phenomenal job of doing that. We give the opportunity to share each other's knowledge, to bring up that next generation, because it benefits the ecosystem as a whole.
Okay. The time is almost up. I'd like to ask you a last question to the three of you. And where do you see your projects in 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to get and where do you hope to get? Let's start with Blake, maybe.
I think just to continue on the course we're on. We're going to continue to expand our marketplaces, hopefully around the globe.
What's the growth you were looking at? Sorry, because like you're growing how much % per year? So just to have an idea where you're going to be in a few years.
Well, I think we're hoping within the next year to just be across North America wide. We have interest in other parts of the world already. You know, we've got people in Australia that's interested, the United Kingdom, I think in other parts of Europe as well, and for professional managers to work together on amplifying our brands. And that's where I guess there's one important part about our marketplace to understand. It is an amplification system as well. It helps lift our own brands up, right? So if we're all pointing to each other within the SEO side of things, it's lifting each brand because we are linking our managers' brands and their websites. So they're getting equal push with if the marketplace grows, their SEO grows with it. So it's really important to understand that they're going to pick up business even if it doesn't land on Northwest Stays or any of the Stays Group marketplaces. Those lifted with it, and people will be able to find their sites organically just because of that lift. So there's another side of that, and of course we're connecting into each other. But over the next 10 years, we're hoping to be worldwide. I can't give you a percentile of what that
worldwide.
Would be. That maybe
okay.
for that.
Any property manager listening from? Sorry, there's a delay. I was talking on top of you. Any property manager listening now from another country, should they contact you or wait, or is there any action they can take now to get closer to
definitely they can contact us now for sure. We'll start putting things together where right now our NWVRP is going through a process right now on how we're able as a nonprofit association, because we are, to be able to make that into a simplified process where other markets can start to join in as associate members.
Amazing.
So definitely contact us through nwvrp.org, or you can go to any one of those websites and say, I want to list my rentals on Northwest Stays or Great Hawaii Stays or Cali Stays or staysgroup.com, which is the master brand now. If you want to communicate with us or contact Vince or myself directly, and we'd be more than happy to talk with any manager around the world.
Perfect. Only managers, not small hosts, right?
That's correct.
Good. Okay. Do you want to add something, Vince?
Yes. So I'll just add to what Blake said. So yeah, I would urge any branded property manager anywhere in the world, if they've been in business more than 5 years and they're looking for an alternative form of distribution, if they're looking to get the value of what we've already created cooperatively within our marketplaces to bring more direct bookings, they should be reaching out to us, because there are limited models on how to make this happen. And I think we've got a very strong opportunity to grow this model pretty quickly. Relative to your 5-year question, I don't think there is any question relative to growth as far as, we're limited to what, I think we're limited to the types of quality we want to bring into the network. But what I envision within 5 years, if not sooner, is that we've got this cooperative to a point that we're so ingrained in our local communities that we're now taking over that conversation on how we behave with our local governments, as opposed to hearing Airbnb making these decisions on our behalf. I also see very quickly within that 5 years of bringing a host community into our network as well. Why? Because we work in triangulation. We've already achieved a very big milestone in our marketplace that we've triangulated one of the strongest and most lucrative networks on the west coast of the United States, which is the relationship between California, Hawaii, and the Pacific Northwest. That's a very lucrative corridor for travelers. Now we get to get more granular, and then we can triangulate where Blake lives in British Columbia and connect that to Seattle, in Portland, in other cities. Now, that host component where they benefit from is that we've got this massive database in our leisure destinations that are 60, 80, 100 miles away from those metropolitan areas. Those people, depending what happens with Airbnb, depending what happens with the housing market, we want to be able to get to selectively bring in hosts into our network that share the same value structures that we have. So that's a pretty big piece of the puzzle. Quite frankly, we're already in that discussion in how we want to do that. I think also within that 5 years, I'm hopeful. I'm a former hotel guy. I honestly believe that there's a symbiotic relationship between the hotels and the rentals. I don't see it as adversarial. I see it as very complementary in how to leverage an extension of that inventory, and also working and bringing as many people into our communities that actually derive value from our products.
Okay, so there's also a network effect. The more you grow, the growth is not linear; it's exponential here. So once you hit a certain growth in terms of properties added and locations covered, it becomes faster.
That's correct. It just feeds on itself, because at the end of the day, if our memberships are a perfect example, right? These are memberships with anywhere between 30 and 300 properties. It's very simple to cause an imbalance. What happens when, and it's already happening today, real time, what happens when that property manager decides to take all 50 of his properties away from Airbnb, yet it remains in the marketplace? What happens to that inventory, which is so valuable? The traveler's not going to go away. The traveler's already looking at many different sites before he makes that buying decision. So because we have this local impact already in place, we can market within that radius to bring that traveler in. So we have this really big competitive advantage at a local level that's already built in, that we're now just galvanizing, bringing together, amplifying it, and then making sure we can just grow it breadth.
So once you have a big number of your members in a specific area, you are actually killing the OTA's business there. Has this happened? Did I understand correctly?
It's a perfect example, Luca. Here in Santa Cruz, we've got a couple of members that are on the platform. I can speak for Beach House Rentals. Again, we run an 86% roughly in repeat business. We run a 98% occupancy. We don't use any of the OTAs. We haven't in the last 5 years. So what I'm talking about is not theoretical. What I'm talking about are the hard efforts we made to make sure we put our brands first, and how we made sure we amplified what we're doing at a local level. We're now branching those opportunities all to our membership as we grow this out, because they can be equally as strong. And that's exactly the effect that we're seeing with our members, and that they now are unlocking the value at a local level of their brands, interconnecting them, amplifying them, and then deriving that value from Book Direct.
Amazing to hear that. Emanuele, do you want to say, where do you see Airbnb in 5 to 10 years? Where do you want it to be?
We have our business plan to say something. We have goals and set in terms of destination. I think that reasonable to be in 100 destination in 5 years is gonna be okay. A reasonable goal for us. But what is important, we don't measure it really by normal. It's the social impact that interests us. So if we want to make a dent, obviously we have to be more than a proof of concept, and also we want to be like the Grillo parlante in Pinocchio. We want to be the conscience of the market. Show also to big platforms. We have already a bit of a problematic relationship on the media with other platforms and stuff like that, because we want to kind of set a very high example, which, it's obviously very risky. There's a high possibility to fail, but at the same time, it pushes the other to get better. Because if you set an example, even if it's just let's say an idea or a proof of concept, but then it forces the other to say, I'm not bad. I'm not a bad guy here. And you can already see that certain platforms, especially Airbnb, after the big slap of the pandemic, they're already talking about sustainability and more involvement with the community and stuff like that. They did it at gunpoint. It wasn't, let's say, a natural evolution because they're good-hearted and stuff like that. It was because it's a marketable thing to be sustainable. And that's cool. The important is the result, isn't it? At the end of the day, if in 10 years, even if Airbnb, I hope, is successful, because we want to bring good to the community. But even if Airbnb has only been, let's say, the impossible dreams, others have to kind of a bit look like it to be marketable. That's cool. I think we would have already swayed the market in the right direction. And this is important also. It's not only the money.
Great. It was very interesting. Guys, thank you very much. I always forget to say this at the end of the panels, but if you have a wallet, we're going to send you 100 of our tokens, trips, which, and remember this time, because on the cooperative model, it does make sense. They give you power of governance over the platform. They are cryptocurrencies. They have a value in the market, but you're going to be able in the future, if you want, to vote on subjects by proportionally to the number of tokens you have. So we are kind of trying to distribute these tokens so that everybody can vote on governance, and so that the platform actually belongs to everyone. I didn't want to waste our time by talking about our project, but look at what we're doing, because in terms of cooperative model, it's very close, but only it's leveraging these new technologies which are coming out. They are not applicable yet in our market, but in a couple of years they will. So check it out, because it's really interesting. And and that's it. So thank you very much. And I hope to see you in person somewhere after this pandemic is over. And Blake, I think we're gonna be together at the Direct Book Show, right? You're gonna be there. You're gonna present at the Direct Book Show.
No, I'm not.
Oh, no, okay. So I was confused with another conference.
Vince, I'm not sure. He might be, but
okay. Well, I hope we meet in person.
Yeah, I'll be presenting at the Book Direct Show.
Oh, okay. I switched you guys. So great. Thank you very much.
Hi. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.